Congratulations, you found the one station that plays Ghana's best urban music.
I like to come up with a song on the radio.
YFM.
Listen to YFM 107.9 Accra, 102.5 Kumasi, and 97.9 in Takoradi.
Shouts going out to the Joyce Ababio Creative Design College. You guys are showing us mad love on your social media. I appreciate that. Of course, our president is in the building. Now, according to Muicia Prada, I hope I got the name right. Muicia Prada. My Italian is very bad. What you wear is how you present yourself to the world, especially today when human contacts are so quick. Fashion is an instant language. Indeed, fashion is one of the main conduits for human expression, and to a very large extent, how we choose to communicate our emotions, our emotional status, and all that, our social status, all that. Our guest today on the Wiley the Board series, ladies and gentlemen, is on a mission to impact the fashion-changing multi-million-dollar fashion industry that is largely untapped here in Africa. Her vision is to change this perception and to make people appreciate the polished, natural, and nurtured talents. Madam Joyce Ababio is a multiple award-winning and founder, as well as president of the Joyce Ababio College of Creative Design. We're much honored to have you with us today, Madam. Welcome to YFM for Wiley the Board series.
Thank you.
I'm so happy to have you here. I mean, when I was told last week that we're having Madam Joyce come through, I was super happy because I have a lot of interest in fashion, but unfortunately I didn't really get the chance to, pursue it.
It's never too late.
So when I drive by the 37 road, there's a big signboard that has your name on there. Whenever I go to Accra, I look at it. When I'm coming back, I look at maybe somewhere along the line I might take up a fashion course, in the school and become a designer, bring my clothes out and call it maybe Eschino Bellino. That's just by the way. Welcome. How's your day going so far? How's your morning?
Oh, my morning is great.
I'd be glad if you could get closer to the microphone. Yes. So we can hear you loud and clear. Great, I think this is perfect. Great, thank you so much. Mommy, let's talk about your childhood. Let's take it way back. I mean, all the way back to when you were born. What were some of the exciting things you remember whenever somebody asks you anything about growing up? The very exciting ones. Let's start from there.
Well, that's a bit long, I think.
Well.
And some of us have been here quite a while. So, exciting things, can't think of much. It would have to do with something to do with school or something of that sort. But I'm looking at you and you're kind of young, so whatever I'll tell you probably won't know anything about it.
Well, not for my sake. I mean, for the sake of the many.
Do you remember Osofo Dazi?
Yes.
You know those who are in it, right?
Yes, the drama group.
Yes, I had one of them chased me from school one time all the way to the house. And as I was walking fast, he was also walking fast. And I started running, he was running. And then we get to the house and I'm screaming my mother's name and she comes out. I ask him, why are you following my daughter? And he says, oh, I saw her and I thought she was very beautiful, so I wanted to know her. So for years I was teased with this.
Wow.
I'm not going to give you the name of
right?
the character because I might just have a name from this one. So
give us
just
clues.
leave it there.
Give us clues. Give us clues. Clues. Was he very popular? Very popular.
He was very popular in the Osofo Dazi group.
Ken, can you help us out?
See, I told you, you're all very young.
How young were you back then? I mean, around that time, how young were you?
I was in class 5, I think.
Wow.
Class 5.
Maybe he saw the acting spirit in you. Maybe he wanted to make you an actress. Did you grow up in Ghana? Tell us where you grew up.
Yes, I did. I was born here and I grew up in Ghana. My parents, my dad was the regional commissioner for Brong Ahafo region during the Nkrumah regime. And my mother was a fashion designer as well.
Wow.
So I grew up here. I went to school here. I went to primary school in Datus, the one
Datus
at
complex.
yes, exactly. And then moved on to Achimota Secondary School.
Great. What are some of the family values that your parents instilled in you and your siblings? How many siblings do you have?
My mother's side, we are 5.
Okay.
And I'm the last one.
Baby last.
Yes.
That must have been nice in the house. I mean, you get everything.
I'm a different sort of last born, I think.
Okay. How different?
Because I tend to play the role as a firstborn as opposed to a last born.
So is it right if we say we are penism?
Yes, I suppose you could say that. Yes.
Wow, beautiful. So what were some of the values, your parents instilled in you? Things that you picked from home, from your parents, your mom, your dad?
Hard work. My mom. All I remember all my life was she was always working. Very determined to see us all through school outside of the country. So I watched her work very hard all my life. And I think that's what I picked from her. Working very hard.
Your dad?
My dad was like I said, a minister, and he was being moved from one place to the next place to the next. So, and each time he moved with my siblings. I think I was the only one that my mother kept stable in one place. So I barely saw him.
Great. Let's talk about Achimota. I remember, I think in the beginning when you talked about the most exciting things in your life, you pointed at Achimota. All right, tell us your days there. Any memorable moments? I mean, notable classmates. How were your days like there?
Achimota was a do or die thing for me. I had to go to Achimota.
Any means possible.
It was first choice, second choice, third choice. It had to be Achimota or nothing for me. So it was quite exciting when the letter eventually showed up for me to go to Achimota Secondary School. I liked everything about Achimota. I mean, I felt like I belonged.
That was home for you.
That was home for me. So everything there was perfect as far as I'm concerned.
Looking back at your childhood and education in particular, are there is there anything you wish you had done differently? You sit here now as Madame Joyce Ababio, very famous, you're well accomplished. You look back to growing up. Are there things you wish you had done different?
Nothing.
Nothing.
Absolutely nothing. I think I'm at a place where I feel like it's my calling, what I'm doing. So I think I have arrived at what I was supposed to do in the first place. And I've always followed it. So I don't have regrets in anything that I have done. The only thing was in the selection of medical technology but then I didn't have a choice then. So I had to do a year and a half of it first.
Wow.
So that's the only thing I can think of. But I always followed the path I wanted.
After Achimota, you mentioned that you had to leave Ghana and go study in the USA. Was that your first time leaving the country?
No.
It wasn't?
I used to travel a bit with my mom, mostly to London. The entire family lives there.
So it wasn't any different feeling for you?
The different feeling was going to the US.
Okay.
Because I hadn't been there.
Okay.
But I'd been to London.
Do you remember the first day you landed in the US?
Yes, I remember. My brother forgot to pick me up from the airport, so I do remember that first day. Left me in the airport for hours, claiming that they went to buy a car.
Wow.
And then the traffic kept them. So I remember that day, yes.
Ken, this thing has it's painful though. I mean, to get to an airport and then 2018, I get to JFK, I call my big brother and say, oh, you came? We're at an event somewhere around, and this man lies to me that it's an hour or two drive. He actually gets there in 3 hours, and then later we're coming back to the same airport from the same place, and it takes us 25 minutes. Means he literally just decided to forget me. I mean, leave me there to survive on my own.
He forgot.
How did the process of integration go for you when you landed in the US to pursue your tertiary education? I mean, it wasn't your first time traveling, but then how was it like coming from Ghana to study? Were you treated different in your school?
Yes, definitely. I went to one of those college schools in a college town, sort of, and they were not very comfortable with blacks at the time. This was in the 80s.
Okay.
So not very comfortable with them, with us having an accent. They didn't understand anything we said, and It was just tough. And also getting to school and realizing the way and the structure of the school is very different from what we are
have here.
very used to. We do the chew and pour system, and there's you have to read a lot and understand it and be able to discuss in a huge auditorium. So that was a challenge. So my first semester was very hard. It took sitting in the library every day to be able to catch up with what was happening in the classrooms.
Wow. And you left here for medicine or medical technology.
Yes.
Right? At what point or what accounted for that radical switch? I mean, I read somewhere that you just decided, I'm not doing it again.
Oh, no. Medical technology was a selection because of a process that was in Ghana at the time.
Okay.
I actually applied. You know, they used to have a secretariat that actually approved your going to the US.
Yeah.
Only because somebody had to pay your fees.
I think
through
Kennedy
the banks.
mentioned that. Yeah.
Yes, exactly. So when I applied with fashion design, they turned me down.
Why?
It wasn't on the list, you know, until
Okay.
today. You guys still don't want to
Put
lift
that on
us
there.
up. So one of them actually told me that pick a course that we will approve. So that's what I picked. So I picked it just to get the approval.
And then
For the banks to transfer my school fees and stuff.
all that.
So when I got there, I had to stay in that field for a period of time, and then eventually I spoke with the advisors and informed them that really this is what I would like to do, and so I switched to what I wanted to do.
So, I mean, if I'm not mistaken, this was a plan.
It was an advice from one of them.
So it's like, okay, if you can't really do what you want to do what is possible now. Get in there, get your feet in there, and then you can switch.
Then I can do what I want. Yeah.
But I mean, were your parents in on this plan? I mean, this advice that was given to you, did they know about it?
My mom always knew what I wanted to do.
Okay.
She knew that I wanted to do fashion design and knew that I'd had to make that decision to be able to get the approval that I needed.
But dad was not in on this.
My mom and my dad separated when I was about 7 years old. So he wasn't really a part of my life that much.
Okay.
So I only visited during vacations and stuff, but my mother raised me. So.
Okay, so this was a plan. I mean, you wanted to do fashion, and then you had to switch, do medical technology, because that was what was available. I mean, you had to get there and then switch. But then, at what point did you realize fashion was your thing? Was it growing up with mom?
I think I've always known.
You've always known.
I've always been, it's always come very easy for me. I could make my own clothes while we were in Achimota and all that. So I always knew that was an area I was going to get into. I think I hadn't pinpointed it very well when I was in Achimota, but when I was done and ready to leave, I knew that was what I wanted.
This was it.
Yeah.
So the plan came into being, it worked, you switched. How did the whole fashion career thing kick off for you? I mean, what was the first stage for you professionally?
Professionally,
Yes.
I finished school. I actually did transfer from Minnesota to Texas.
Yes,
and then completed school there, and then worked in the industry. You know, in America, you don't just finish school and start calling yourself fashion designer. You have to go through a certain process, and the process is working for a fashion house for a period of time. You learn all the things you need to learn before you get to even call yourself an assistant fashion designer.
That's like national service, sort of?
Sort of, yes. So I had to go through that process and finish. I worked for myself for a period of time. You know, this is a foreign country. I worked in every area of the industry I could think of. And usually, most of it was me making a choice. And it even started while I was in school. I made a decision that I wanted to learn fabrics. So I worked in a fabric store for a period of time. Then I wanted to learn how they altered garments, so I chose a place that did alterations and actually went there and worked there. Then I moved into the main departments to do retail for a period of time. Then I went to Better Dresses. Then I became an assistant manager in a shop. Then I managed the shops itself.
Wow.
So I went through the processes of being a fashion designer and understanding what it really means. So I did all that. Then eventually, when my daughter came, I made a different decision. I wanted also to do law.
Okay.
So
what inspired that?
there were two things I always wanted to do. It was either law or fashion or law. But fashion was my main passion.
Okay.
So I decided to take a course in a paralegal program.
Okay.
So I did that in Houston for a year, finished off, worked in a law firm for 7 years.
Wait. And while you worked at the law firm, where was fashion?
It was more of people placing orders and me doing the work as my own business, as opposed to working in a fashion house. I had done all the things I needed to do, and I'd moved to doing law. I started working in the law firm, but at that time I had a business. So I was running business at the site.
I mean, for some reason, I feel while you were working at the law firm for 7 years, I mean, you'd look at people and say, this wasn't stitched right. I mean,
yes,
you go to the courtroom.
I would do that. I was actually, the partner I was working with, each time I entered the office, she would hang up her phone, she would go, my fashion statement has arrived.
You would correct them.
Yes, I would do that.
Wow. And all these were experiences you had in America.
Yes.
Let's talk about when you decided to come back to Ghana. Before you got back in here, or before the Joyce Ababio influence came on us, how was the fashion scene like?
Well, I hadn't been, I was in the US for 10 years before I visited Ghana. And so I always felt that, okay, I wasn't one of those who looked down on people as in, I'm in America, so I have this and they don't have that. No. And the reason I didn't do that, because I felt that even when I was in Ghana, I knew what fashion was. And Ghanaians do know fashion. We may not create anything, but at the end of the day, we know what is in, what is out.
Yeah, that's true.
So I never really looked down on anybody. So when I came, I thought about it. And at that time, I hadn't actually made up my mind to come home yet.
Okay.
So went back home, back to the US, and my husband then decides to come home. So he was home for a year and a half before I joined him.
Wow.
So when I came was when I finally decided, okay, what am I going to do with myself? And then first I said, I've worked years in the US. I'm just going to lie around for a year. That's what I said to myself.
Take a vacation.
Take a vacation. I brought everything.
Yeah.
But in my lying around, I've always been one of those people who is one track. I know what I want, and I'm very focused. I would look for a shop. And the shop, I made a decision. I wanted it at Oxford Street at the time. Osu. So I will drive there every day. I don't look left. I don't look right. I will go straight. To where.
Wow, determination.
Just to find what it is that I wanted. And then I got a phone call from somebody. Her name is Benaifa Chothia.
Okay.
She's a fashion designer. I think she moved to London. She asked me that they were doing an international show, and she had heard about me and she wanted me to participate. Wow. In fact, I was told at the very last minute, so I had 1 month to prepare. I had the machines, I had everything, but I hadn't set anything up. So I pulled them into my living room and started.
So you started the Joyce Ababio brand
on that day.
On that day in your living room.
In my living room.
Wow.
So I worked, I loved doing gowns. So I did 13 wedding gowns. Then I did, I think, 11 cocktail dresses, black and white, for the show. So when my turn came at the show, people stood up and clapped. I got a standing ovation right there, and the name just picked up.
That's when you realized, nah, this is it.
Right there.
This is it. Like, I didn't make no mistake. Wow. I mean, beyond all these fun moments, you getting standing ovations at your fashion shows, I believe there were challenges you faced when you came down. Let's talk about a few of them. Which ones were the most challenging things you faced?
It was workers. Once the shop was opened and I needed workers, I realized that anybody that walked in, I had to teach. The standards we had at the time was not the thing to have. And so I had to teach everybody that came in my section. And then, of course, there was always the mindset of who a fashion designer is in Ghana at the time. So these were some of the challenges one was facing, which actually brought about teaching.
Okay. Did you ever have an issue of trust with your workers at a point? I mean, their experience, the ones that make the cut. Did you ever feel, okay, if I leave them to work, they might not produce the work like I wanted?
Yes. I'm always there. I'm one of those that it has to be perfect. I like things a certain way, so the fear is it just won't be done the way I want it. So I'm always around. But then I would train these people to get to the point of feeling comfortable to take a step back. Then they leave and you start again. That's how it was with workers.
Wow.
Once they've learned enough, they move on and you start again. So that was the challenges that we were facing.
And so from your living room, what was the next step for you? How big did it become after?
So we after the show, everybody was looking for Joyce Ababio. I didn't have a shop. So my husband said, let's just put a signboard in front of the gate.
A house.
In the house. So
wow.
Let me tell you who my first customer was our president's former wife. She was my first customer. She came in, she bought a whole lot of stuff.
Wow.
That was the first time. So in that time, I made a decision about a shop in Osu and moved to Osu. So we started working.
I mean, this is super inspiring, guys. If you're listening now, you don't need $1 million to set off your life. I mean, to start a career. People have had that, but I mean, if Auntie Joyce Ababio can start from her living room, post the first signboard in front of their house, and get a good client, and after that, I mean, move on to the next stage. You can do it. It's highly possible. And so let's look at you, Auntie Joyce Ababio, the mother. I mean, the mother life. You have on a number of occasions mentioned how meticulous you are with everything you do. I mean, you just mentioned it. You want things done the perfect way. Have you at any point felt it puts pressure on your children? I mean, the family. You aside, I mean, you do that at work, but do you feel sometimes you do it at home too?
Well, you are who you are at the end of the day, so I'm sure I do. I mean, my children are grown now and will tell me exactly what they think. But when they were younger, yes. I don't think I put pressure per se, but I kind of expect something. For instance, if you need something, and you really feel you should have it, I feel like you should raise an argument. Come tell me what it is you want, why, what's the reasons behind it, that sort of stuff. For me to decide, okay, yeah, you can do this or you can't do that.
Wow.
But my children have been my life, so they are always the first and foremost in everything that I do.
Everything that you do. What kind of parents did you aspire to become growing up? I mean, you mentioned that your dad would travel around. I mean, you barely really had time with him. Your mom was almost always around you. Growing up, what kind of parent did you want to become? And looking at who you are now, is it far from what you aspire to be?
I don't know whether I thought much about what type of parent I want to be. I think part of it came from getting married very early in life. And so there was no plan. Do you get my point? There was no plan. I got married. I had children. I'm very family oriented. I like I like intimate stuff. I don't like a lot of things. So I'm usually with my family to do things together, that sort of stuff. That's the sort of mother I wanted to be.
And that is who you are now.
And that's what I am, yes.
My boss always says, simple is sweet, Edible. So keep it simple. I mean, I don't
That's
like
all.
plenty people.
Nothing major.
Because the people at Chelsea, you can't really look at everybody. I mean, if there are a few, you can attend to every single one of them. What has been your greatest lesson on motherhood for the very many young mothers, the ones who are starting a business and don't know whether to create a family or not? I mean, the ones who have already gone in there and are struggling managing things as a mother and a businesswoman. What is your greatest advice for them, or what has been your greatest lesson?
Well, I think because I started early. I got married at 23.
Wow.
And my first daughter at 26. So I usually think that people should plan their lives.
Okay.
So if, for instance, in the school, somebody came and they were already pregnant or something, I would ask you to take your time and think through things, because this work we do, people tend to look at it as it's very easy, a snap of a finger. Is not. It's a lot of work and very stressful. So you need to plan ahead with what you're doing. Make certain decisions, whether the children will come first before, because during my time of settling in Ghana and my children were young at the time, I wanted to spend time with them, but at the same time I had work to do, so we had an arrangement. I will pick them up from school in the afternoon and bring them home, so I get to see them, and my husband will drop them in the morning. And then weekends, I set my goals in a certain way. Customers do not call me on my personal phone. Everything business is done at work.
At work.
It doesn't come home, so that the weekends is spent with my children. So that's how I manage myself. So I advise mothers also to find a structure in their lives that they'll use to be able to run their businesses as well as manage the children in the house.
That's very important. Let's speak about the Joyce Ababio College for Creative Design. I mean, you mentioned that in your experience, your early experiences with workers here in Ghana, you picked that a lot of them didn't really have the know-how. I mean, they were called fashion designers, but didn't really know the practical work behind it. And so you set up the school. How easy or difficult was it for you? I mean, setting up the school.
It was difficult because, number one, Ghana had a mindset, people in Ghana had a mindset that those in this sector are dropouts.
Well,
so I believe we've changed it quite a bit, but you're still going to find a few people that have that same mindset. So it meant that I had to change the mindset first before I could actually do anything. So I put it together, started with 5 students, and then used it to change the mindset of a number of people, because by the end of the year they were sewing and doing amazing work. So parents coming to see it brought the that sort of stuff, and things changed. We started changing things slowly.
Tell us a little bit. I mean, we're going to go on a break, but tell us a little bit about the kind of young people you admit, in your institution. What do you look out for? You mentioned that when some come and let's say they're pregnant, you sit down and talk to them. Do you by any chance reject some of them when they come?
Oh, no, not at all.
Okay.
It's a school. I mean, if you feel you are ready for it, I think the question will be whether you can hang in till the period that you are supposed to be there. But we've organized it in a way that we have a 6 months. So if you go through the first 6 months, you go have your baby, you come back later, you can do the next 6 months.
Wow.
So that is not, we admit anybody and everybody who feels that they have the talent, interested in learning fashion, I will accept you.
I want us to talk about the fashion industry, but of course, after we take a few songs. We mentioned earlier, we had a conversation before we started the interview. You really love music, and you seem to know your music very well. I mean, you mentioned we played Simi's song before, and then I tend to ask, Auntie Joyce, you know who sang? Oh yeah, it's Simi. I mean, it was quite easy. Do you have favorite songs now?
I've given you one. You should have stuck with that. And then I said Kwame Eugene.
Kwame Eugene, right? The church boy. Who else? Who else can we play?
The Skiddy.
Okay.
I like his music as well. A few Nigerian, the twins. What do they call themselves?
P Square.
Yes, that's the one.
We have some twins here too. They're called Dope Nation. Yeah. We'll play that song, so you don't worry, it's fine. That's just before we move on, right? We have a quick surprise for you. Yes, everyone loves surprises. Okay. So the team put together something special for you. I think Ken should just present it. For all of the guys who are watching us on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, this is a beautiful picture of Auntie Joyce. Yes, in between. I love it. I mean, this is for you. It's for accepting our invitation. It's for coming here to inspire the many listeners that we have. Let's hang it at the office. I mean, at home. Whenever you look at it, you remember that you were on the Wiley the Boat series. I mean, you remember the impact you have on the youth when it comes to our fashion industry and beyond. I mean, I didn't get to do fashion, but you're one of the people I look up to as well. Very well. So
like I said,
this is for you.
Too late.
It's not too late. Auntie Joyce has been looking at me like, okay, we'll talk after. Maybe we'll talk after. Maybe I'll take a course in there. But this is yours.
Thank you so much. It's beautiful.
The team will receive it on Auntie's behalf.
Thank you.
Right after that, we can just have it in there. Back into the interview, though. Don't forget 0202222073 to get you in via WhatsApp. We just did a presentation for a beautiful portrait of Auntie Joyce. That's for her from YFM. The impact of the fashion industry on some economies out there is very, very huge. I mean, I've been to Italy personally, and you see how developed the country is. I mean, the country is well known for fashion. It's really done a lot for some economies in London, the USA, and the rest. Can you say same about Ghana's fashion industry? Are we ever going to get to the point where we'll have such a huge impact?
We definitely will at some point. We are not there, but we will. We are working on it.
What are some of the things that are holding it back?
Well, I think some policies need to change to help move this business forward, because we have a lot of challenges from different areas. For instance, those of us who want to promote African print, for instance, or African wear, let's put it that way, it's very difficult for us because the textile industries that we have right now are struggling, and the cost of fabric is expensive. So by the time we, the designers, get to it, we've already lost the battle, let's put it that way. We can't compete with the outside world because it becomes very expensive. And so these are some of the challenges we have. Bringing in the right, what is it called, machinery to be able to work is an issue, because we pay lots of money to bring our stuff in. They are not produced here in Ghana, neither can you find them here to buy. So usually you are importing those things in, and then you come in and you have all these chunks of duty you have to pay for.
That's true.
So we feel that if the government can give us some exemption in certain areas in the business that we do, we may be able to compete outside. But right now, that's where our challenge is. And I think there are also different cultures that we need to build for ourselves. One of them is learning to produce our garments in a manufacturing company that actually will do the work properly for you, instead of us doing it anyhow, trying to export those things that it doesn't cut it. So that we can at least get our business done in our country and open shops for ourselves. This country, we can have our designers. I mean, right now, Africa is open to us. We can do all sorts from here on. But certain things will have to change in this country for us to be able to move forward and stop doing the individual jobs that we do. I was telling them the last time that the students should be able to come together and join together and have a business, as opposed to each person wanting to own their own. We can't all be owners.
Yes.
Somebody has to do the work.
That's true.
And the earlier they realize that 0% or 100% of zero is zero, the better. Because if you were with somebody and you made 40%, it's better than zero, isn't it?
That's true.
Yes, and we seem to work in a certain way. Our mindset is a little different when it comes to business. So some of the things we have to change.
Speaking about mindset, Auntie, how do you feel when people label Ghana-made products or Ghana-made goods as being inferior to products from outside? How do you feel about it? I mean, being in the fashion industry.
I mean, it can be annoying, and there's some truth to it sometimes. I think the Ghanaian needs to learn that the finishing of anything they do is important. Not just anyhow and want to sell it, because then we have all those other people who have done all these works, very good, nicely finished, all of it, that we can compare to.
Yeah.
So we have to get to the point where we say is just as good or even better.
Yes.
You see, but it is annoying to hear people say made in Ghana, I won't buy it from Ghana because this, that, which is not good. It's not promoting anything for us. We need to be able to patronize our own things and move the industry forward. However, we, the people who are actually producing those things, will need to take a step back and think, if I'm doing this, I should do it right. Which is what sometimes is lacking in our section.
If a young person wants to set up a brand, I mean, as you mentioned, you always inspire your students to come together, to be extra creative, create brands for themselves. How do they get funding? I mean, let us in on that. If somebody wants to start a car business, the person can just send import duty slips to the bank and get funding. How does the average fashion entrepreneur get support finance-wise?
Unfortunately, it's one of the things I was saying, certain things have to change, and certain policies and structures need to be put in place to support us in the works that we do, because when they usually finish, most people are depending on families, friends.
That's true.
To support them. Going to the bank doesn't work because the bank is asking for a collateral you may not have. And then again, you don't even want to start a business going to the bank to pick up to get a loan that has this huge interest rate sitting on it. It's like you are losing even before you start. So that's some of the challenges that I feel that needs to be addressed in our country, where we can support these people to move forward in the businesses that they are doing. But that's where the challenge is.
In the transport industry, I mean, in the creative arts industry, entertainment and the likes, I've seen associations, I've seen boards. Does the fashion industry in Ghana have anything like that to regulate things that has to do with them, welfare, all these things? Do you have like
Unfortunately, for some reason, fashion designers, we haven't succeeded in coming together to put something together. But it's something that needs to be done. Needs to be done. Because I've always thought that if we could come together and we can be the powerhouse behind certain things, that we can command certain things that is needed in the country, get certain policies changed and that sort of stuff. Doing it as an individual doesn't help anything. So we need to be able to come together and do this.
Great. I've seen a lot of fashion schools. I mean, beyond Joyce Ababio Creative Design College, there are many. In your personal opinion, do you think schools in Ghana have done enough, generally? Whether the fashion schools, the tertiary institutions, the universities and the likes that we have they done enough to change old perceptions about pursuing a career in fashion?
I wouldn't say so. I think over the years, my beginning and why I got into actually opening a school and teaching was to change that mindset. I feel that we've done a lot because when I started, for instance, parents would bring their children upset because their mind is, I told them to go to Legon or KNUST and all they want to do is fashion. So they dump the children on me angry. And they start to feel better when they come a year later and find what they are capable of doing. So that's how we've been able to change mindsets. I am hoping that the other schools that have opened now are also working towards changing all this, because this is very important in our sector.
Wow. How is the fashion industry, especially schools, adapting to the new normal? I mean, after COVID-19 came up, what does the industry need to do to sustain itself? I mean, what is Joyce Ababio Institute doing? Are people learning online now? How are we going about things for you?
When it happened, we went online. We had challenges there because you would find that you have some students that don't have even computers in their homes, or they don't have a smartphone to even pick up from there. So we looked for different channels to be able to reach the students, like on WhatsApp or something. So videotape it, show it to them WhatsApp, let them do the project, send it to you. You know, ours is practically based, so it makes it very complicated. It is something one has to inspect, and looking at it on computer or a phone doesn't cut it.
Exactly.
So it makes it very difficult for us, but we still tried to do it that way. Currently, we have the final year students in, finishing their final project. So I think next week we'll be done with the final project, and we are waiting on, can we move on?
Yes. Oh, no. At this point, I'm going to check out a few questions from our listeners. I have the first one in from Amaka, Global Media Alliance. Amaka says, our former president's wife was my first customer. You mentioned that. Can you please mention the president's name?
My president.
Yes, I think you mentioned that our former president's wife was your first customer. This person wants to know,
Current president.
the current president.
Akufo-Addo, yes.
Akufo-Addo's former wife.
Former wife.
Okay. So it's Akufo-Addo she wanted to know. I think that the question is
Oh,
answered.
she wasn't sure. Okay.
Yes. This question in here from Selassie Inside East Legon says, are we ever going to get to a point where the fashion industry will start shutting down shabby fashion stores? I mean, people who will take your fabric and display it. This is wicked.
That's an interesting word.
Display is a new. I mean, I think it's when you send your
But it makes
piece.
perfect sense.
Yes,
what
you
she
send your
said.
piece to a tailor or a seamstress, and
They will ruin it for you.
until you send them a picture of how you want it to be, and you don't get to see the product until a day before you're supposed to go where you're supposed to go, and you get a cover instead of
You know, sometimes people also need to make certain decisions.
well,
If you are looking to pay 50 CDs for
Well-
a garment, you know where you are going, and they will definitely display it.
they will display it for you. Wow. I mean, are we ever getting to the point where
We are working on it.
You're working on it.
You know, Corvette has a program there that we are training apprentices to bring them up. I have a school that we opened, professional development
Okay.
centers, that we are raising that level up. So give us some time. We'll be there,
Sometime.
I'm
Great.
sure.
Do you ever get to the point where you reach out to people to get them trained? I mean, you see a fashion designer who has promising works, I mean, but it's not perfect. And you reach out to them to tell them, you know what, take a course at my place. Let me touch it up for you. Do you ever do that?
We do that, but
Okay.
again, at the end of the day, it's about money. So if the person has the funds to be able to come to the school,
Why not?
Then yes,
Okay,
certainly.
great. Are there other career opportunities after fashion school we may not know of, and how relevant are they to the economy? You mentioned that you worked at the fashion store. I mean, I'm sure many people out here in Ghana don't even know they are in the fashion industry actively. People
They
think,
are.
okay, I'm a clerk at a fashion store, or I'm a counter boy at a fashion store, and so me, I don't do fashion. When we mention fashion, it's the tailor or the seamstress or the person cutting with the scissors.
Very wrong.
What are some of the other careers in fashion we don't know about?
You could be a stylist.
Okay.
The person who is styling the president and the wife and all that, they are stylists, so they're in the fashion industry. You could be a retail manager. You are also in the fashion industry. You could be a buyer for a shop or anything. I mean, there are different areas that you can do. You could be writing on fashion
Yes, I know
or
a few people.
blogging on
Yeah.
fashion. So all that is something you have to learn from a fashion design school to get into, because you have to have the total understanding of the work you're going to do. If you're going to talk about fashion, you can't just talk. You need to know what it means.
20 years from now, what would you want Joyce Ababio to be known for?
Changing the fashion
I like the
scene in
I like the
Ghana.
that getting.
Have a long idea of what I would like. I want to be able to change the fashion scene in Ghana. I would like to see Ghana become the fashion hub, where production is coming from here to the other African countries. So that's what I want. This is why I got into education, because I thought the first start was to educate people, let them know how the work is done properly, clear understanding of it, then we can move it forward. So
One thing I know is that, I mean, fashion designers will make the best clothes, but models need to bring the clothes to life, right? Let me pick your mind on our modeling industry in Ghana. How well is it doing? Is it structured enough? Is it helpful to the fashion industry? Are we getting enough models, professional models, to put our clothes out there?
I think the models I have used or have seen around, they are quite well trained. The problem again in Ghana is the fact that if somebody is going to model and you want to pay the person peanuts, you are not going to get the right group of people that
That's
you
true.
want, because in other countries they are paid a chunk of money to model, and we don't in Ghana. But the ones I have seen, they are well trained. I mean, and they do the job they need to do.
What does Auntie Joyce Ababio do? I mean, what do you do to relax, to have a good time? If you're not teaching, if you're not mentoring the next generation of, haute couture designers. I barely hear that word here in Ghana, though, I have to be honest. But I mean, a few circles, haute couture. Yeah. I used to watch it on DWTV, by the way,
Yeah.
until a point where I saw it mentioned on a fashion show. And I'm like, oh, we actually have some here. I mean, it's...
They do?
Yeah. I mean, those ones, correct me if I'm wrong, those are the very crazy designs. The ones that apparently you can't wear in real life, but you can wear on the runway. That's what couture, right?
Well, it is a section, it's a selected group of designers.
Okay.
That, I mean, you're actually selected to be somebody who's doing haute couture or whatever it is.
Wow.
Because what it means is it's very high fashion.
Okay.
Fabrics are expensive. Finishing is done by hand. A lot of handwork, where somebody takes a piece of something and actually designs it to come into a fabric. Do you get my point?
Yeah,
So
I do.
it's a very high end. That's why I asked, they do
Because fabric, there are some you see.
people tend to look at it from the angle that once you are doing made to measure, then you are doing couture.
Which
but
one
there's
is
a
that?
lot more. Made to measure means I measured you, I did the work for you.
Okay.
So it's not one that is already done.
Okay, it's not
You
already
understand?
made.
It's not already made.
Okay.
So that's why people say that, yes.
Wow.
But there's a selected group of people that are actually the ones you have to get to a certain level to
Level
get that.
before.
Yeah.
And we'll get there.
We will get there. We'll get there. We
All right,
just
so-
have to aim high. We'll get there.
So back to the question, what do you do for fun? I mean, if you're
For
not
fun?
teaching, you're not doing all that.
It's not much fun in my life. I work all day long. I get home very late. The thing I look forward to is entering my house, getting my cup of tea, and going to relax. Sit down and relax. So I watch a little TV, go to bed. That's basically my lifestyle
That has been it since.
for a very long time,
For a very
since
long
the
time.
children.
Wow.
Yes.
On the side, aside fashion, aside medical technology, the bit that you studied, is there a hidden talent, something else that Auntie Joyce Ababio is into that people don't really know? Maybe you can sing on the side, maybe you can...
No, not at all.
Not at all. Huh? It's all fashion and then what you studied, right?
Nothing extra.
That and then just law. Are you by any chance coming back to law anytime soon?
I do not think so.
You do not think so?
I'm looking to retire, so I don't think I'll be going that direction.
After you retire, what happens?
Well, I've been planning my retirement. I've been telling them. And my daughter is running the school for me now.
Great.
And we are currently building a campus.
Cool.
So when that is done, I will possibly take a step and get into manufacturing. So that's what I want to do.
Great. For people who are listening, like myself, who have interest in getting into fashion at any point, how do they get enrolled at the Joyce Ababio College of Creative Design? How easy is it? Do we just walk in?
Oh, just walk in. Give us a call. Get on our WhatsApp. Talk to us. We like to chat about everything. So if you have questions, we will answer. So you can just walk in and even ask to speak to me, and I will come out and speak to you, or you can come to my office, whichever.
People would want to
It's
do
no
that
problem.
to confirm if they're actually at the right place. So yeah.
Yes.
Can I speak to Auntie
you-
Joyce?
Oh, people do all the time. They insist I'm the only one they want to talk to, and I will let them into my office and we will chat. I don't have a problem with that at all.
What's the size of your closet?
Well, I
Personally.
have quite a size, I must say.
Do you keep a whole room, a whole
Yes,
section
it
of the
is.
house for that?
It's a whole room, yes.
Wow. Anyways, thank you so much for spending time with us today. I'm sure you often come across many young people who are at crossroads, of identifying themselves. I mean, find their personal identity, their purpose in life and all that. What do you often tell them, and what would you tell anyone listening right now, any young person here, this very moment, struggling to find themselves in terms of making the right career choice? I mean, making the best decisions for their future and now.
I say they should stay focused, committed, dedicated in their thoughts and their mind and the direction they are going. I want to read something somebody said that I listened to, that I thought was a good one for young people to know. He said, if it were easy, there will be no one to look up to. keep walking, keep striving, never give up. Fall down 7 times, stand up 8 times. Without commitment, you'll never start. And without consistency, you'll never finish. Ease is a greater threat to progress than hardship.
Wow. What a beautiful way to wrap up. Thank you so much, Auntie Joyce, for spending time with us. We are humbled. We appreciate this moment. I mean, this has been inspirational to a lot of people out there, including myself. Thank you. Ghana loves you. Keep doing what you do. I mean, we have a big mission. The fashion industry still needs to survive. I mean, I believe in every single sector with human resources impacting our general economy at some point. We'll get there. We definitely believe in that. And so kudos to you on a big mission you're on. Shouts going out to the JACCD guys, everybody there. I mean, from today, I think I have a lot of listeners from that side. God bless all of you guys. And help us say thank you to Auntie Joyce for spending time with us on the Wiley the Board series. We appreciate you. Have a wonderful day.
Thank you so much, too.
Any final words? Anything you want to say to anybody? Anybody you'd like to mention? Your team?
My team, definitely. I don't know what I'll do without them. They are my rocks. I cannot do anything without them, especially my lecturers. They are amazing. They've been with me for 12, 14 years.
Wow.
And they've been amazing.
Great. Thank you so much, Auntie.
Thank you very much, too.
All right. So that was Auntie Joyce Ababio, president of the Joyce Ababio Creative, actually College for Creative Design, right in Ghana. Make sure you check them out on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter. Search for them on Google. If you want to enroll, if you have the dream of getting into the fashion industry, it's still structured. There's proper training for that. Make sure you go on there and acquire the proper training that you deserve. Of course, when you get there too, please make sure you call Auntie Joyce. She's available whenever you want to talk. Always, she's there for you. Thank you so much, guys. All of the guys that texted on Twitter with the hashtag Wiley the Board series, we appreciate it.
Congratulations. You found the one station that plays Ghana's best urban music.
I like to come up with a song on the radio.
YFM.
Listen to YFM 107.9 Accra, 102.5 Kumasi, and 97.9 at Takoradi.